Learning, the stage of forming consciousness. Part 1. The child and natural mechanism of learning. When a child is born, its mind is like a piece of untouched earth. No beliefs, no fears, no guilt, only a pure emptiness. And from that very emptiness, it begins to absorb the world. No one teaches it how to love, yet it feels love through the mother's eyes. No one teaches it fear, yet it learns fear from the tension in its parents' voices. No one teaches it confidence, yet it learns from every gesture, every breath, every vibration around it. From that moment, the first layer of consciousness is planted, not through words, but through energy. The Buddha said, "Mind precedes all phenomena. Mind is their chief. Mind creates all." Every glance, every sound, every emotion becomes the code that programs the mind. And from that moment on, the child begins to learn how to become someone. Part 2. The modern world, learning or programming. In the 21st century, children no longer learn only from their parents. They learn from TikTok, YouTube, ChatGPT, Netflix. By age 3, they can already swipe a screen. Before they can write, they already know how to apply a filter. A UNICEF report in early 2025 revealed children under 10 in developed countries spend an average of 6 hours a day in front of screens. And the world proudly calls them the AI generation. But pause for a moment. Are we really learning, or are we being programmed? Because if everything you absorb comes from a screen, you're no longer learning through life experience, but through dopamine reflexes, emotions manipulated by algorithms. Learning has quietly turned into conditioning. And you, once the observer, have become the product of definition. Part 3. Learning shapes the mind itself. You learn language, but also learn to think like that language. You learn morality, but also learn the fear of being judged. You learn ambition, but also learn the anxiety of failure. When you learn only to be right, you lose the ability to see what is real. As the Buddha said, the wise are not bound by learning, they use it to see clearly. But modern humanity is different. We learn to compete, to be seen, to be praised. We forget, learning was never meant to be a race, but a natural act of awareness. Part 4. Modern illustration. AI intelligence versus human wisdom. In 2025, tech companies raced to build AI tutors for children. Some proudly claimed, "Our software can teach better than any human teacher." But a young monk in Kyoto, upon hearing the news, simply smiled and said, "If AI can teach everything, who will teach it how to be silent?" That's what the world forgets. Learning is not just about adding information, it's about knowing when to stop. Because knowledge without wisdom is like a ship loaded with books, but without anyone who knows how to row. Part 5. Conclusion. The mindful way of learning. Learning is not about becoming someone else. It is about seeing clearly what is already here. When you listen, don't just use your ears. Listen with your entire presence. When you read, don't just read the words. Read the mind that reacts to them. Because learning without awareness is merely ignorance in disguise. The Buddha said, "He who knows he is ignorant has already begun to be wise." Today, the world is full of intelligent people, but very few wise ones. Intelligence builds planes, robots, AI, but only wisdom knows when to pause. And perhaps true learning begins not when you try to know more, but when you start observing the process of knowing itself. The ego, how it forms and binds us. Part 1. The birth of the ego. After learning to perceive the world, a human being begins to ask, "Who am I?" That innocent question is the seed of the ego. As a child, you hear others say, "You're so smart," and you learn that being good means being loved. "You're so bad," and you learn that being wrong means being rejected. And so the ego takes shape. not as a soul, but as a distorted mirror reflecting how others respond to you. The Buddha said, "Neither others can purify you, nor can they defile you. Your mind alone decides." But you were never taught that. You were taught that your worth lives outside yourself, in grades, jobs, beauty, money, and praise. And so begins the long, exhausting journey, the journey of proving your own existence. Part 2. The world of the virtual self. Today, the ego isn't just psychological. It's become a global industry. Open your phone and you enter the great marketplace of egos. Who posts more? Who gets more likes? Whose personal brand shines brighter? The world has turned the self into a commodity. Meta and X, Twitter, don't sell your data. They sell your emotions. Every time you react, envy, compare, or get angry, the algorithm learns how to keep your ego spinning. A 2025 MIT study revealed people who spend more than 4 hours per day on social media report 40% lower self-esteem than average users. This is the world where your self no longer belongs to you. It's become a resource to be mined. Part 3. The false self and the true self. Have you ever realized the self you defend every day isn't real? You call yourself a business person, a teacher, a good person, a seeker. But if all those labels disappeared, what would remain? You've spent a lifetime defining your value through roles. But roles never last. The successful fear losing success. The famous fear being forgotten. Even the spiritual fear not being enlightened enough. That is the paradox of the ego. The more it tries to affirm itself, the weaker it becomes. The louder it says, "I understand," the further it drifts from truth. Because the ego can never be satisfied. It feeds on lack. It survives on comparison. It burns like a flame that only exists while consuming oxygen. Part 4. Global illustration. The collective ego. Look at the world today. Wars are not only fought over land or oil, they are fought over collective ego. A nation wants to be great again. A religion wants to be the only truth. A leader wants to be remembered, and blood is shed, not for truth, but for the idea of truth. The Buddha said, "The fool thinks he is always right. The wise know no one is." Yet just last week, a tech CEO was fired for one sentence that hurt the company's image. Somewhere else, an influencer took her own life after losing 10,000 followers overnight. The ego doesn't just make us suffer, it's killing us slowly, one comparison at a time. We now live in an age where being recognized matters more than being free, and so the ego becomes a golden prison, shining, elegant, but locked from the inside. Part 5. Seeing through the ego. The ego is not an enemy. It is simply a temporary costume, a role we must wear until we realize we are not the costume. The Buddha taught, there is no permanent self, only the aggregation of body, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness. Seeing this clearly, one is freed from bondage. When you understand that every role is just part of the play, you begin to step out of the performance. You still work, you still love, you still create, but now you are no longer driven by the fear of disappearing. That's when you live, without anyone trying to live. You smile without needing a reason. You succeed without needing an audience. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your worth for the first time, you truly exist. Part 6. Rupture, Crisis, and the Search for the Path. Section 1. The Fracture of Consciousness. One day, everything you've built your life upon begins to crack. Success no longer brings joy. Love no longer fills the void. Everything continues, yet somehow you are no longer in it. That familiar feeling, emptiness, fatigue, disconnection, is not a curse. It is the first tremor of awakening. The world calls it anxiety, burnout, existential depression. The Buddha called it dukkha, the silent dissatisfaction running through all existence. All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering, and that is the path to purity, Dhammapada. Rupture is not the end. It is the crack through which light enters. Yet most people rush to seal the crack, and in doing so, seal off their chance to awaken. From For those Core Psalms, Section 2, The Modern Crisis. In 2025, the World Health Organization released a shocking statistic. Over 30% of people aged 18 to 30 report a deep sense of meaninglessness, despite living in the most comfortable era in human history. We can reach Mars, but not the depths of our own mind. We have robots to care for us, AI to think for us, and drugs to make us happy. Yet we've forgotten how to sit silently with ourselves for 1 minute. This is the paradox of the 21st century. The more connected the world becomes, the more isolated the soul feels. One heartbreak, one layoff, one loss, and everything we've built collapses. But what truly breaks is not life. It's the illusion we've mistaken for life. We realize we've been living untrue to our feelings, untrue to our calling, untrue to ourselves. Section 3. The opportunity within collapse. If you have the courage not to escape, your crisis becomes the doorway to truth. Because only when everything falls apart do you stop believing that salvation lies out there. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." When you stop running, you stop asking, "How do I escape pain?" and begin to ask, "Who is in pain?" That question changes everything, because suffering doesn't come from circumstances, it comes from the one interpreting them. Section 4. Real-life illustrations. A female CEO in Tokyo recently shared, "I have everything, wealth, success, admiration, yet every morning I wake up wishing I could disappear." A famous singer in Los Angeles deleted all her accounts, saying she no longer knew who she was after 1 million followers told her who to be. Across Europe, Buddhist monasteries are reporting a 300% increase in young adults joining silent retreats compared to 5 years ago. The world is cracking open, not because it's falling apart, but because it's being invited to look inward. Section 5. The Search for the Path. When suffering reaches its limit, you begin to search. But searching for the path doesn't mean leaving the world or worshiping something beyond it. It means pausing and turning back toward yourself, not to become a better person, but to see clearly who is trying so hard to become. As you sit quietly, doing nothing, your mind begins to watch itself. The sadness, the fear, the emptiness, they rise and you don't resist. You simply see. And that is when the path begins to reveal itself. Not from books, not from teachers, but from the direct awareness of your own being. Within this very body, with its perception and mind, lies the entire universe. One who sees this clearly has seen the path. Samyutta Nikaya. The search for truth is not a journey outward. It is a dissolving of all directions, until only awareness remains. Part 7. Practice. From form to awareness. Section 1. What is practice? After the rupture, people often turn toward practice. Meditation, chanting, sutra study, vegetarianism, mindfulness, pilgrimages. These actions are not wrong, but unless you know why you're doing them, they remain only forms, not practice. A person can meditate for 10 years yet still carry pride, judgment, and competition inside. That is not meditation. It is the ego wearing a monk's robe. The Buddha said, "Not by form but by awakened mind does one know the path." Anguttara Nikaya. Practice is not about achieving anything. It is about seeing clearly the one who is trying to achieve. And in that very seeing, real practice begins. Section 2. The Trap of Form. In today's world, spirituality has become a billion-dollar industry. Online enlightenment courses, meditation apps with monthly subscriptions, luxury retreats with awakening packages. Even NFT meditation is a thing now. People buy the path the way they buy painkillers, hoping for instant calm and fast awakening. But truth cannot be purchased. because what you seek is the very one who is seeking. When practice turns into a goal, you have already strayed from the path. For the path is not somewhere to arrive, but a place to stop running. One who can stop with each breath has already reached the destination without moving. Majjhima Nikaya. Section 3. Shifting from doing to seeing. Look closely. Most people practice through doing, but rarely through knowing. We meditate, but the mind travels between past and future. We chant, but the lips move while the heart counts gain and loss. We study, but we only compare, not understand. True practice is not doing. It is seeing the doer. Sitting and knowing that you are sitting. Breathing and knowing that you are breathing. Feeling sad and knowing that you are sad. No fixing, no fleeing, no pretending to be better, just seeing. In pure seeing, every illusion begins to dissolve. The Buddha called this right mindfulness, not forced attention, but the quiet light that illuminates all experiences. Section 4. Modern Illustration. Technology and the Meditator. A young monk in Singapore once said, "Someone asked me, 'Do you use iPhone or Android?' I said, 'I use the breath.'" Everyone laughed, but his answer carried profound truth. No matter which device you use, if your mind is always online, you are never connected to yourself. Technology expands our world, but makes us forget the inner one. Practicing in this century doesn't mean throwing away your phone. It means being aware when your hand reaches for it. When you look at the screen and still know you're looking. When you talk and still feel your breath. That is meditation in motion. Section 5. From Form to Awareness. Practice begins with form, but must end in awareness. You can chant, sit, bow, or pray, but without awareness they remain rituals. Yet if you simply breathe and know that you are breathing, that alone is meditation. Because the path is not found in temples or scriptures, but in this very moment, right here, right now. One who sees clearly a single present moment transcends 1,000 lifetimes. Form is just the raft. Once you reach the other shore, let it go. That is the essence of practice, doing nothing, and everything aligns itself. Part 8. Dissolution, Merging with Life. Section 1. The Death of the Seeker. At some point, the seeker realizes there is nothing left to seek. No more path to walk, no more goal to reach, no more I left to prove enlightened. Everything once longed for, fought for, prayed for, evaporates like mist. Not because you have understood everything, but because you see clearly, there was never anyone walking the path at all. From beginning to end, only life itself has been moving, through this body, through this mind, like wind passing through the forest. All phenomena are without self. When one realizes this, suffering ends. Dhammapada, verse 2 and 9. Section 2. When the self disappears. When the I dissolves, the world doesn't vanish, only the wall between you and it collapses. When you look at a flower, there is no one looking. There is only seeing. When you breathe, there is no I am breathing. There is only breath happening by itself. This awareness belongs to no one, yet it shines brighter than all knowledge. It has no center, no boundary, no name. You are no longer the one observing life. You are life observing itself. Section 3. Modern Illustrations, Dissolving in Daily Life. A scientist in Sweden once said, "The moment I washed my hands in the lab, I suddenly realized it was the water washing me." An artist in Seoul, after depression, confessed, "I no longer wanted to paint, yet in the silence, the painting began to paint itself through my hands." And in a Tokyo hospital, a dying man whispered to his nurse, "I never truly lived, I was life itself." That is not philosophy. It is the experience of dissolution, when every boundary between me and the world melts away like a wave returning to the sea. Section 4. Merging. When no one lives, yet everything is alive. When there is I, everything is a burden. When I disappears, everything becomes a miracle. No one tries to live well, because living itself is good. No one tries to let go, because nothing was ever held. An awakened person may garden, cook, teach, play with children, or simply walk through a busy market, and in every act there is no doer. Everything just happens, softly, like clouds drifting, like rivers flowing. As rivers flow into the sea, the gentle mind merges into truth, never to return. Section 5. Conclusion. Living like smoke, dissolving like mist. True awakening is not a destination. It is the dissolution of the idea of a destination. No one attains enlightenment because enlightenment begins when the attainer ends. When you no longer need to be loved, love flows naturally. When you no longer need to be happy, peace arises by itself. And when you no longer try to live, life begins to live through you. There is no winner, no loser, nothing to know, nothing to believe, nothing to achieve. Only pure presence, like a wisp of smoke dissolving into morning light. When the mind is silent, that is nirvana. Dhammapada, verse 73.